Good afternoon. It is February 9th, 2026. You're listening to a Little Column A, Little Column B, hosted by Will Alimonos and co-hosted by Zach Bishop. How are you doing today, buddy? How are you doing?
What is going on, Will? Absolute disaster of a weekend. Disaster. The highlight of the weekend was somehow the Celtics came out atrocious against the Heat. Then have an amazing turnaround in the third quarter, erase a 21-point lead, and are able to win that game. But then Saturday does not go well. Duke has a meltdown in prime time, followed up by, all right, well, got the Super Bowl, got to focus, and all right, well, we got Celtics-Knicks early game. Nope, absolute Knicks just destroy us. All right, we still got the Super Bowl, and then the Super Bowl comes around, and it is just the cherry on top of just nothing going my way. Just one of those weekends as a sports fan, and hopefully way more of the better ones. But yeah, no, I had a terrible weekend. Will, how was your weekend?
It wasn't as bad as yours, so it made me a little bit better, but it was pretty bad in good ways and bad ways. It's hard to be critical of the Patriots. It's just we had to sit through it, and how do you not get your hopes up? I mean, this is already, how did we get here? How did we end up here? Do we even deserve to be here? But at the end of the day, we are here, and it's football. Anything can happen in a football game. Anything can happen. Sometimes things have gone against us in the past at Super Bowls, and we've learned to live with that. We've never really not had a chance in the game. That was a new feeling, and maybe I've just blocked out some of the times where it felt like we had no chance and just convinced myself we always had a chance. But this one, we had no chance, and we had to sit through it, and that was the most painful part of all of this, was just sitting through it, because it wasn't going fast enough. And this was a game that had no flags and could have been slowed down a hell of a lot more. I know the commercials are longer, halftime.
Maybe there should have been some flags. There should have been some flags. Maybe the referees should have been paying attention.
I think there were certainly arguments of flags that could have gone the Patriots' way. My only counter to it is just, what difference would have it made? It wouldn't have. It wouldn't have.
I'm going to save my ref complaints for a different segment, but for the football part of it, there was definitely some issues, but it was like the Patriots, it was just 3 and out, just like every time. It's like one of the times it was like third quarter, I think it was the third quarter, and had a great first down play, and then it's 2nd and 1, can't get it, 3rd and 1, can't get it, and just until the fourth quarter, there was just absolutely no offense. Will was just, he was not ready for the moment. I'm really hoping that he maybe came back from his injury, maybe a little too fast, or he's just not quite at 100%. News came out that Drake had injections in his shoulder. He didn't look quite right, but I really think it has way more to do with just the Seattle defense. Seattle defense is awesome. They had a game plan coming in. They were only rushing 4 most of the time, and they were just getting to Drake every time. I think I would have liked Drake to maybe run it a little bit more. It felt like in the second half when he did that, when they were just rushing 4, there were just, all the receivers are down the field, and there was more openings. We tried to adjust with more screen passes, but it's just every time, it's just like, all right, a little bit, like we get like a little bit of some momentum here. Nope. And even at halftime, we're down, but we're only down 9-0. It's like, if we could score a touchdown, we were right back in this game. And then they score another field goal, and you're still looking at this is only a 2-possession game. If we could just have any offense, anything can go our way. And especially in that first half, Darnold just looked like he was going to give us the ball. Just a handful of times, the ball is just bouncing around. It's like, okay, at some point this is going to happen. And then it never ends up happening. Credit to Seattle, the whole playoffs, no turnovers. That was something middle of the season they were having some problems with. And, they were the best team come through the playoffs. They trailed, I think I saw, for under 2 minutes. It was like 1:37. If that is the most you're trailing through an entire playoff, congratulations to you. And there was at no point last night where looking at it said, oh, you know what? I think the Patriots are the better team. I thought we had a chance going in. I thought we had a chance at the start of the third, but then I think in the third, the three and outs, and then when we started turning the ball over, I think some of that was Drake realizing we gotta do something different. We got to get a little more crazy. And unfortunately, when you do that, you raise the risk profile, and we saw what happened.
They played well in moments. It wasn't the best played game by either side. It was a very cautious beginning. A field goal, field goal, field goal, which is similar to how we predicted the game would go. It'd be slow. I think we had the under. I had the under for the first quarter. I think that was the only bet I was really accurate on. The Sam Darnold performance is interesting to me because now Sam Darnold, similar to Joe Flacco, is a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and there's this level of "Are you good enough to take my team to a Super Bowl?" argument that really can't be made against Sam Darnold. But I'm still walking away from this thinking this was such a terrible year of quarterbacking, and it's no disrespect to Drake Maye and Stafford and the 1 point MVP thing, which seems like a decade ago at this point. There weren't very good quarterbacks in the league this year. Is that fair to say? Like Sam Darnold is the best of them. We had a bad year of
No,
quarterbacks.
no, but that's the thing is that football quarterback is a big part of it, but there's a lot of other parts to it as well. And so you can build teams in different ways. Yeah, if you just look at the at the quarterback stats, I Drake has 2 interceptions, has a fumble. So if you compare head to head, you can look at it that way. But if you just looked at Sam Darnold's line and compared it to a lot of other games this year, it doesn't look very good.
They're a deserving team. I just wonder if you could do this every other year with Sam Darnold. I still don't know if I'm entirely convinced. I think not making a mistake is something he had to do in a situation where Drake made a lot of mistakes, as you mentioned. If Darnold makes a mistake, maybe this is a slightly different game, but I'll give him credit for just not falling for that and not falling into the trap and basically being good enough for a lot of games here and being carried by the defense. Kenneth Walker walks away with the MVP. Any issues with that? It seemed like he was in complete control. The patience was pointed out in the broadcast multiple times. Would you have given it to someone else?
No, no, I don't think it gives it to anyone else. It's a unique situation where not the quarterback hasn't happened in a while, as well as it goes to a guy that did not score a touchdown. But I think if you look at the guy that played the best, I just think it's so hard to give it to a defensive player. And even it was like Seattle's whole defense just played well. So it'd be hard to pick one of all of those guys, but probably should have gone more on the defensive side. But if you're going to pick an offensive of guy earlier on, it was like a half joke, but a half serious. Should it be the kicker? Like he's not kicking 50 yarders, but 5 field goals sets the record in a Super Bowl. Like that's a lot. But you carry the ball 27 times. We were really good all year, limiting running backs, and he was still able to get to his spots and broke a couple of bigger runs, and that was a problem.
We should probably talk more about Seattle, but I really don't want to. I thought Christian Gonzalez was the best player in this game. I thought his impact saved this from being
In the first half. He was the only one that had highlights
of any side. And so
on either side of anything. I mean, field goals. That's not a highlight. That's kicking.
I
But
thought
yeah, he had the deep pass that at first thought like, ooh, I don't know if Darnold quite got it there, but it's like, oh no, Darnold put it right where it was supposed to be, and Gonzalez had it all out and just tipped it away, and then he was really close at the end of the half to intercepting Darnold.
it's not going to be remembered this, and I think this is what really is painful as a Patriot fan, is I actually thought the defense played really well this game. And it's not going to be remembered that way because eventually the dam breaks. You can't hold them forever, but you're getting stop after stop after stop in the red zone where you're losing the field goal, the field position battle throughout the game. Like the punts, we're just getting pinned as far back, and they're getting closer and closer every single drive. I thought the defense of the red zone was really, really good. And you can't ask for any more than that. What you need is to not be on the field for as much, and ask for your offense to just put a little bit more pressure on them. It just wasn't enough, but it's not going to be remembered that way because ultimately the score is a blowout. But I'm not walking away from this that worried about our defense. There are things I would like the Patriots to improve on. What would you like to improve on going forward?
I think it's easy to look and say the line, but we already mentioned Will. I'm going to chalk that up to inexperience and to the injuries, where both our rookies both were hurt and our rookies. So I think they're going to get more reps. I don't think we need to make a rash decision, especially Will. Top 5 pick. I think that he still has plenty of time to figure this out. So I wouldn't go there. I think we need more wide receivers. or we need at least one more main guy. We never really had a traditional main guy with Brady, and I'm wondering if some wide receivers watching what Drake was able to do with the wide receivers that he had, if we're able to kind of pull some guys in, where Brady towards the end, he wasn't really throwing these deep bombs. Where Drake is not afraid to throw a deep bomb. You can get some points.
Do you expect Diggs to be back on the roster next year?
Did is he under contract? I don't think we would cut him, but I'm not sure if we would sign him. I could see this year using it as just a kind of a recovery year to show teams, hey, like I'm legit, to get more of a longer term deal.
If he can get money or more money elsewhere, I think he'll go elsewhere. If there's not that many doors, not many that calls or not many doors open for him to walk through, I would like to keep him, and I think it's a good fit. I just think there were games where we needed him, and there were games where we would have needed him a hell of a lot more, and he just didn't come up. But I still think for what he is at this point in his career, it's still a little bit value of an asset for me. There's definitely upgrades out there. The A.J. Brown situation with Vrabel being the one who's, I believe, drafted him and probably had his best seasons with Vrabel as his coach as well. Is there buzz of going that big and that all out? I mean, we already know A.J.'s not the happiest guy over there. Are there other dreams you can have?
We did sign Diggs to a 3-year deal, so I'm thinking that he's going to be around, assuming this lawsuit and there's not more off the field possibility issues with him. I have to imagine he's going to be back next year, and hopefully, I think that we've seen. I mean, he's not the youngest guy, but the year after the ACL return, I think is usually a better year.
That would be nice. That would be an improvement without really doing anything. If he was just actually better next year, that would be awesome. I worry about Campbell. We couldn't have spent a higher draft pick on a line, and it couldn't have been more of an issue. And it wasn't just that he was outmatched and not really performing. The only flag, or at least the first flag of the game, was him flinching. It was just a bad look. I don't want my guy flinching. Is that wrong? It's a super pressure moment. I get it. It happens.
Yeah.
But man, that was crushing to me. Of like, oh, he flinched. It wasn't just like, all right, the guy's better than me. I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna look bad at some points, and that's fine. But to flinch as if you were already scared and the thing hasn't even snapped yet was a tough one. Like he didn't even get hit on that one. It was just he just took the L voluntarily. That one. I hope it's injury.
It didn't help with anything. He's gonna get more reps. I think he's gonna be better. He got drafted top 5 for a reason, but to have not even his worst, it was the worst. I think I saw it was 14 pressures were his fault. That's not the most in Super Bowl history. That is just like, I think that's the most of any game this year, where they just knew who they were going to pick on, and especially in the first half. I think we figured it out a little more end of the third, into the fourth, but the whole first half, Drake just didn't have any time. You were saying he's got to read it better at the line, but it was just he didn't have a ton of opportunities, and trying to figure it out. It just, as soon as he got the ball, he was just, I don't think he could really look downfield.
Then get rid of it faster, because that wasn't going to change. He kept wanting more time, and I would have loved for him to have it, because we all know what it could have turned into, but it wasn't going to happen. And he holds onto the ball too long, and he thinks he's going to get away with it. And then when he runs, sometimes it really sets everything up a lot more, where they're not as ambitious going after him. But that wasn't set up. Our running game wasn't set up. Everybody was after him. I think he should have just been doing 1-2, throw it away way more often. And a couple of these turnovers don't happen. But we just don't have the wide receivers that can get open that quick is the other problem. Like, we need plays to develop with the type of guys we have. We don't have, I mean, even like a Cooper Kupp would have been nice, just a quick out or something, like we don't have that sort of plays up, at least yesterday we did.
Even I think Collinsworth mentioned it one time, that I think it was the second quarter, and maybe the third, but okay, you guys are gonna be aggressive. There's gonna be some blitzes. All right, we got to be ready to have a safety valve. And Collinsworth just says, yeah, so they knew they were putting pressure on the Patriots, and then they knew where the safety valve was going to be. So then they just have a guy just ready to hit the safety valve. And just in my head, it's just like, why don't just all the teams do this? Why is this happening to us right now in the Super Bowl?
Part of the Drake injury isn't just a couple passes being missed. Part of me would like to think that maybe he was a little hesitant on rushing the ball, knowing you already got a bum shoulder here, and because I think he ran a lot more aggressively throughout the season, and I think that one fumble he had just really made him rethink everything. But I would have liked to seen a little bit more desperate running yesterday, and I'm hoping the reason we didn't see that is maybe that shoulder wasn't so great for that sort of situation either. It wasn't a good Drake game though. It really just was not a good Drake game.
Nah, not at all. Nope. The whole playoffs, and you could say it's the better defense, or is it the shoulder? Is it a combination of both? But he's 23. This is only his second year. He came in late in the year last year. This was the first full year, and some of this is just getting the reps, having the confidence. Losing a Super Bowl is never good, but he's got a whole lot of experience that not a lot of young guys have.
I think the Super Bowl hangover is real, and that our expectations for next year have to be recalculated. But I'm still happy in the direction of this team. We have Rabel, we have Drake Maye, we have McDaniels, and that might have not looked great yesterday, but I'd rather have that going forward than what Seattle has going forward, wouldn't you?
Whew, I don't know. Seattle, I mean, you got Darnold. Darnold was good last year. He's pretty good this year. Super Bowl wasn't amazing, but he gets the job done. They got a lot of young rookies on rookie deals. I think they have a ton of cap space coming in. So for like this upcoming year, I think you got to go with Seattle. But maybe if you're thinking maybe a little more in like a 5-year plan, but I think Seattle's going to be sticking around.
That would be exciting. I think the fun thing about having cap space after you win the Super Bowl, and the Patriots luckily have fallen into all this, is after you win, everybody's resume goes up. We just won. Everyone's worth more now all of a sudden.
Yeah, I have a Super Bowl on my resume.
And if you've already kind of maxed everything out, this is really how you're not able to build a dynasty in football. It's like, hey, we maxed out the salary on everyone. We don't have any way to upgrade anyone. We already did, and you all want this, and then you have to go somewhere else to get it. When you have space like Seattle at this point, you can kind of keep everyone. That's a scary situation where there's no real cap holding you back at this point, or as you mentioned, possibly get really aggressive. We talked about additions for our team. Imagine them adding one more wide receiver next to Jackson Smith and Jigba. That could be, I don't know, that could be something.
I'm looking at it right now for next year in cap space. Seattle is number 5, and the Patriots are 12 in the amount. Seattle has 74 million, and the Patriots have 33 million.
It could be completely different teams next year, depending on how they spend all that.
For sure. Seattle has drafted really well. It's not exactly the same as the Patriots, but just in the past 5 years or so, maybe a little bit longer than that. They've gone from the Russell Wilson era to, oh man, we're bad, we're trying to figure this out, to another Super Bowl.
They looked really comfortable in that Niners stadium, didn't they? I didn't like that.
I think they would have looked comfortable anywhere. The defense was ready to go. They could have been playing on the moon. It didn't matter.
All right, enough of the game. How about the halftime show? I enjoyed the overall vibe. I thought it was a fun party. The production was cool. The moving sets. I thought keeping it moving was just there was no dead spots in the whole halftime show. I didn't know what was going on. I don't know all of the music. I've heard some of his music, but I didn't think it was boring. Did you have any comments on the halftime show?
Not really. Again, it's not for me. It's not for us. We're already watching the football game. This is for casuals and for trying to grow the game. So if that worked, awesome. Then they'll have more football. More football will be more popular. More money. All good for everybody. I checked out the beginning and it was like, I don't know any of these songs. There was a ton of movement and things going on, and then I just took I took my own advice and said, you know what? I'm just gonna put this on mute. It's on in the background, and then I watched something else on my laptop until the game came back on. I probably would have been in better spirits if the Patriots been winning. Maybe I would have stuck around a little bit longer, but I was like, yeah, I was having a rough weekend, so it's like I don't really want to watch this. I was watching the commercials and everything, so it's like I'm gonna take a little break from this.
Yeah, you don't like weddings, anyways. You wouldn't have enjoyed it. It's fine. Just a good bunch of dancing. It's a
I
party.
did enjoy the dancing.
It's a party. It's a party. What more could you want? It's a party.
I wanted a football team that was going to have some offense. That's what I wanted.
That's fair. I would have. You know what? I really enjoyed the Bad Bunny performance, but I would have traded it for that. I really would have. Anything else for the Super Bowl?
Did you have any commercials that caught your eye?
Not a single one. The karaoke one did, but then it pissed me off of who that was, and I'm not even gonna. No sponsors here, but
No, no free ads.
no, nothing. But that's the only one that really I remember, and it was kind of like, who spent this stupid amount of money for this stupid Backstreet song? And it's not even really them; it's like a weird cover of them. Yeah, that
It
was.
it was funny because that one I missed the intro to it, so then I didn't know if you were already supposed to know who it was, and then it's like this is just karaoke, and then I got distracted, and then I didn't even see who the commercial was for, so it was completely wasted on me. I'd say my favorite one was the Ben Affleck one, although they just they I I get it. You're spending so much money on this, but it was just so many jokes, just like one right after the other. And it's like it didn't even get a chance to breathe, but it's like you only have the 30 seconds or the the minute. Like there's really not that much. But I liked all the people involved with that one, the 90s TV stars. But I think my biggest takeaway, you had mentioned that there was not going to be a Marvel trailer. I think a lot of people were looking for that. There was a Star Wars trailer. There was a trailer for the a couple other movies, but the biggest reveal for me and maybe some other fans is the Cadillac F1 car was revealed. Weirdly, they had the car in a box in Times Square, but like the Super Bowl ran fast or something. So it was supposed to like debut at the same time, but it debuted on TV like an hour before it was able to see it in Times Square. But that was fine for me. It's just showing what the car is going to look like. So each team has a livery reveal, and it's like a very big deal. Each one does it like a little bit differently. And I thought this was a cool American way to do it of, hey, here's our biggest sporting event. We're trying to get into this other sport. And here's how we're going to do it.
It leads right into the Olympics after too. I'm sure those numbers were good.
It was the F1 reveal came right after the Hollins touchdown. So that was the highlight of my night. Of like the Patriots scored, here's the F1 reveal. I knew was happening. Like maybe we can get some momentum. The streaker had happened. I guess not a streaker, he just didn't have his shirt on. I was like, okay, maybe the guy without his shirt on, maybe that's just gonna change the momentum. Things can happen. That's not what went on, but I think that really helped for the F1 reveal happened at a high point in the game for me.
You brought up the Hollins play. Now we can nitpick a little bit. I didn't bring it up. You did. The Hollins play bails out of so many things because if we don't get that touchdown 2 plays after all this, I'm burning the referees down because I was fine with the Diggs shove and it would have canceled out, so there's no real point in calling it Super Bowl, whatever, keep it moving. But the second a punch was thrown, Zach, how is there not a flag thrown? Like, now it doesn't matter. Now it doesn't matter who started it. Now it doesn't matter if it was retaliation. A punch was thrown, flag gets tossed. It's how every other game of football would have been officiated. It's over officiated if anything. And in a Super Bowl to be lenient on something, I didn't think that was something to be lenient on.
I don't know how it wasn't shown on the original broadcast. Like it it wasn't just like some pushing and shoving. It was Diggs, like our best receiver, and he gets late hit. So of course he's gonna respond to that. He's not just gonna just roll over. And yeah, then the defender throws a punch. And yeah, no penalties at all. And that just seemed to be the style of the night. Like the first pass that Darnold throws, Cooper Kupp just bobbles it out of bounds, and we don't challenge it. There's no booth review, no eye in the sky, no nothing. There's a pretty blatant offsides by Seattle on a punt, and this was just like the third thing, and it just if the game had been closer, this would have been a bigger deal, and it would have been a bigger talking point. But the way that the game worked out, everyone just kind of likes to ignore it. But just something for everyone to keep in mind when everybody thinks the Patriots get all the calls and all of that. Very much was not the case.
Like I said, 2 plays after all of this, it's a Mac Hollins touchdown. It's the 2 best plays of the whole game for the Patriots. And it's like, all right, well, the punch didn't matter now. Because at that point, 15 yards of a penalty would have been our biggest offensive play.
Already, yeah.
So to be like,
we scored right afterwards. Yeah.
To be like, we don't need that 15 today. We'll do without it. It's like, no, I need every single yard we're gonna get,
every little bit,
and that would have been a huge one. And yeah, that was probably the only thing I was really upset about. The offsides thing on the punt is frustrating, but what were we gonna do with it on offense? Give us as many attempts on offense as you want. It wasn't gonna matter. It was gonna end in a punt then or the next 3 downs. I just
needed a first down. By hook or by crook, I needed a first down.
The punch one was really like, all right, this is really not how this would have been officiated at any other game at any other point this year. They're crazy with flags anytime helmets get hit, and I feel like that should be standard. And I feel like the ambulance was called for, and they were like, no, they canceled it. No, it's fine.
You should be penalized and ejected for a punch in football for just being stupid enough to try to punch somebody wearing a helmet.
Yeah, I hope he broke his hand.
Like, when a fight breaks out in hockey, what's like the first thing they do? They drop the gloves and they take the helmets off, because if you punch somebody with a helmet on, the helmet is literally there to protect you.
Well, we can't talk about actual tough guys now. All right. We gotta move on here. We gotta move on to college basketball. I'm sorry, there's no other way to do this other than opening with the Duke UNC game, where Duke's in pretty much control of this entire game. You are gonna have your chance at a second here. It's just let me get through it a little bit here. It's a second half comeback by UNC. Ultimately, Duke couldn't get the stops. Is how I'll remember it. I'll remember them having a terrible defensive scheme of going under a couple screens and then not really being able to defend the point guard in a post up for a possession. They call timeout and then they run no play on the offense. They just say Cameron Boozer gets the ball at the top and he's going to hold it for 20 seconds and then drive down to the post and then go for it. I don't know what the point of the timeout was then. If we're just keep the timeout, because it might have helped you later, knowing how everything went now. Is somebody who's got no dog in the fight and unfortunately really enjoyed this. I had problems with that kind of stuff. I thought that bothered me. You're gonna have a lot more things that bothered you. So what do you want to start with here? Because this is ultimately a game that ends up with the UNC buzzer beater that you had complete control of, and just lose right at the end here.
Complete control. Leading wire to wire until 0.4 after reviewed is left. Seth Trimble, amazing shot. They get it to him in the in the corner. But yeah, it was really more on the Duke side of just not executing down the stretch and ending the game, giving up 9-0. You can't do that. I don't mind the last play for, not I guess the second to last play for Duke, because he's going to the NBA. He's going to be a top 3 guy in the NBA. And you know what the top 3 guys in the NBA, those guys are able to do is you give them the ball, they put it in the hoop. We did the same thing last year with Coop. It drives some of the older college basketball fans crazy because they want, some sort of like razzle dazzle play drawn up and this pass over here and this happens. And we've used Cam as a decoy earlier in the year. In the Florida game, Isaiah came over to set a pick and then he leaked out. And Cam was able to find him. So we've used him, but you got the best player on the court. I trust him. This the second time in the Texas Tech game, he was able to get a shot off. Didn't make it. But these guys got to learn, and this is only going to help us going down the way. I mean, we're way later in the year. Last year, Coop, it wasn't back-to-back games, but in like close games last year, turned to the middle and turned it over. Didn't even get a shot off. So that's just, I think you just gotta make your decisions. I guess maybe you could say you don't need a timeout, but I think to kind of try to plan and figure out what the defense was, and clearly that didn't all work out. But I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention we're playing at North Carolina. All right, tough place to play. Somehow they had 1 foul in the second half. 1. How is that even possible in a basketball game?
I watched it all. There's not one call I would have given you. I watched the whole thing.
Oh, sure. Okay. Guy with no dog in the fight, but they enjoyed it.
I have a dog. I have a dog in the fight now. I like basketball more than I like any other team.
Yeah,
I would not lie to you about that. You are the one who gets too emotional and can't be mature about any of this. So go ahead and make your argument.
This is not. This is not, one shot, team shot, more free throws than the other. 1 foul. I believe it was 7 fouls for the entire game. And we're not some soft team that only shoots threes, never drives in. I'll have to check KenPom later. I'll have to open up one of my tabs that I already have open, ready to go. But I want to say on an average night that Cam will draw 5 fouls of his own. And at the same time, Cam gets too early. He's got to sit for a little bit. Gongba is in foul trouble the whole night. And I just don't see how it could both things could be happening at the same time. So I'm definitely more upset with the way that game was refereed than the Patriots refereeing, where it's like, wow, you called one foul an entire half, future NBA players on the court, and if you think it was officiated, awesome, all right, but
You were up
somehow the
by
math
10 the
doesn't work
whole
out there,
game.
and then it was a one possession game.
You didn't have a problem with the officiating until you lost. You didn't even know that. You're up 10 this
I had a
whole game.
problem as soon as they got Cam in trouble because
That
now
all
it's
right.
okay. It's the ref show.
I will
All
give you
right,
this. Hold
everyone
on.
came to watch you. Came to watch the Stripes, not to come watch the an elite prospect that's going to be going to the NBA next year.
Far from elite, but going to the NBA for sure. I'll give you this.
What do you call a top 3 pick?
I said far from elite, but he's going to the NBA. The
Oh.
the officiating was frustrating because you guys were by far the more physical team. It was clearly bothering UNC. And the fact that there was a lack of a whistle, and then you guys got like your advantage of being physical was then turned against you. It was a fair frustration from an outside person watching this game, right? That I could see as being extremely frustrating because your advantage is being way more physical than this team, and they didn't like it. And then you got all these fouls
They did
called
not
on them.
like it one bit.
And then you guys got all these fouls called on you, which just bailed them out because you couldn't have your best punch for a fair punch for a fair part of this game here. But you guys were still in control this whole game, so like all of that is a
It was
fair
still
argument.
a meltdown. Yeah, it was still it was a meltdown. It still shouldn't have been in the referee's hands. It could have been a bigger cushion. I'm hoping that it's a lesson. I'm still pretty burned by the meltdown at the end of last year. So just a matter of how do we figure this out? There's still it's not the same team as last year, but there's still some of the same guys, and I think it was different. It was a different situation than it was last time, but still that when you reach a certain point, it's never 100% clearly, but it just it can't happen.
All right, now we have to talk about court storming, and unfortunately, I do have a dog in this fight because I've always been very against it. And now, Zach, you have to defend it, and it's really great because Duke coaches were allegedly punched after all of this. We need to save them. We have to stop the court storming. It's finally over. It's come all the way around. You have no argument. You have to come to the side. No more court storming.
No more assholes. That's what we need. Storm the court.
Nope, can't have it.
Every time. In other leagues or in other conferences, if a team court storms when they get fined, that money goes to the school where the court storming, to the team that got court stormed. But the ACC won't do that because they don't want Duke to just be raking in the money, the once a season when this happens. The same thing happened last year, it happened the year before. It's a couple here and there, but you can't be a dick about it. Go on the court. Have a great time. I saw later on there was a video of there's like a place downtown Chapel Hill where like there's an intersection and they are all ran to the intersection, had a great time. Cool, go for it. But you can't mess with the players, you can't mess with the coaches, you can't mess with the families. Don't ruin it for everybody else.
They ruined it. They ruined it for everyone.
And I'm saying that as a fan of a team that is never going to court storm. It's not going to happen. So this is only for other people, and I am just trying to get the good fight. I'm more often the loser of this, but I still like it when it happens. I know there's some people because when this happens, you're looking for anything. You're just like, well, they came on the court before it happened. Like, got to be technical fouls. It's like, well, how many technical fouls do you want to give us so we could shoot 50% from the line and then maybe get this win? We need 5 of them. So the double one. It's the second time this year I've seen a double court storm, which is just bizarre. But no, I still want it to happen. It's just stay away from the players.
Look, the punches are going to happen with the double. I think that's what it is. Like, it's like, oh, all right, we already know what we're doing. We know what's about to happen. We see who's about to be where, and we're going to be right there again now. And like, I just think that's
no, and that's where you just can't be dicks about it. Just sell it. It's a celebration. It's not an opportunity to try to assault somebody.
No. I mean, these kids are camping out for this sort of stuff. Don't be stupid after it all.
Yeah, but I'm thinking there's a lot of people taking video. I mean, it was at UNC, so I don't think any of the fans are going to release that. But there's a lot of cameras going on, so I'm sure if there was an incident, there'll be some footage that can be reviewed, and the person responsible can be held accountable.
It's not everyone. We have more.
And
Yeah.
that's the worst thing. It's it's a couple of people, and I don't even think like they're bad people. Like it's just you get excited, you beat your rival, and you just you get too excited, but you gotta just focus on the happy part of it and not on being the jerk part of it.
All right, on the rundown, I have Michigan State, Illinois next, but I think you're just on a merciless run right now. So how about we talk about UConn losing to St. John's first?
Okay.
I was shocked that they were kind of able to speed up UConn at the end of the game. I hate to admit it, but I generally feel very comfortable with UConn usually coming up fairly clutch, and they got outplayed by St. John's here late. I thought that was an excellent closing for St. John's. I don't think this team has looked as good this year, but I thought that was a really good win. I thought that was a really good win. Any thoughts on it, or maybe you have a different opinion of UConn?
No, I think St. John's played well. They're on a 9-game winning streak. I'm really liking. It seems like it's the Big Ten and the Big East are putting premier games on Friday night. I I get why people want to play on Saturdays, but when you have like all of these, just like this past Saturday, it was like there's like some of them were just like all stacked at prime time. It's like, well, guys, like spread this out. So I love having a premier game on Friday. It's almost like an appetizer for Saturday, just kind of like get you ready. So I was glad that was going on, and so I was able to just watch this with like no real other distractions. And I agree. I think St. John's was pressing the whole time, and once UConn kind of got down, and at the end you have to kind of speed up, but that's also what the team wants you to do. And so yeah, I think St. John's was in control, and it was fun because you have playing at MSG, and UConn likes playing at MSG even though it's St. John's home. So just kind of a regional rivalry. And as someone that lives in this region, and there's no good football teams around here, so to have basketball, it's like if these teams are good and they can like have a rivalry, that's just like good for the whole region.
It was a fun game. Wasn't the best game of the week. I thought my Michigan State defeating Illinois in overtime was the best game of the week. Unfortunately, the headlines are far more fears related, and I'm not going to run away from it. I'm not here to defend it. It is clearly a Draymond Green related problem. That is.
Would you like to explain to the listeners who maybe have missed this? Because if this was a Duke player, there would be no way you could have missed this. Even though it was Super Bowl week, this would have led off probably the podcast and all of the sports centers. So if you could just let the listeners know what might be going on, that I think is interesting that the media hasn't really talked about too much.
I think it's the nut punching they have a problem with. It's multiple attempts.
The nut punching or the nut kicking?
I think the act is just as aggressive and described just as effectively either way. It is that, as well as a lot of suspicious undercutting tripping that looks really bad and really terrible based on every single reaction to the players. You're just off balance. Who does that, and who is looking out for that? And if I got to look out for that, I know you're paying me at least in some of these sort of situations, but I don't want to be in a court with somebody who's doing something like that. And it's hard to defend because he's had a really good year. I don't think it's all like I don't think his success is entirely related to how dirty he is on these plays. He gets a lot of assists. He's not the greatest shooter. He's a very physical, ball controlling sort of guard. He's a psycho competitive, if that hasn't come across already. But this stuff's not cool. I wouldn't want to play with a guy like that. I would not want to be on a court with a guy like that. And the problem with all this is you don't think it's getting enough attention. Is I do think every other team we do going forward here is just going to be baiting him. And he's gonna one team's gonna get him at the wrong time, and it's really gonna cost us. And it's just bound to happen. Draymond Green has certainly cost Golden State wins. He might even cost Michigan State wins if you want to go farther enough back. It's a problem. We had a huge win. We should be talking about how big of a win. We beat Illinois, who could arguably be one of the better teams in the country, and we beat them in overtime. It wasn't a blowout. They gave us a good punch, and we closed them out at home in overtime. We should be talking about all that, but we're not, because this guy's a dirty player, and I can't defend it. Is that enough of an explanation? Is that enough of me getting down here? Because I can't defend it.
So this has been going on for a little bit. I feel like it's kind of crescendoed in the Minnesota game, which you lost earlier in the week. Not a good loss. You're able to come back into this. Coach Izzo was asked, hey, are you going to, look into this? And he said, yes, he might suspend him, but then that did not happen. does the conference have to get involved if Izzo won't get control of his players?
I'm telling you, it's going to solve itself out. Nobody's going to have to do anything. He's going to get baited by somebody going forward in a super tight game where things are just not going his way, and it's going to happen on its own. We're not going to have to. He probably should already be.
So you're saying several nut punches are okay, but like there's a limit.
No.
But the ones now, you can just nut punch guys for a while, but wait till it's a close game, and then you'll get punished.
All right. Well, that's not what I said at all. We have a podcast. We could use words. We don't need to talk for that. But it's not that I don't think he should be suspended now. I'm saying they won't, and I'm telling you there will be another moment that's going to happen, and they'll get him for that. And then it'll compound with all of this. You're going to get what you want. You're not just going to get it for what's happened right now. All right? A new bill will come, and they're going to tax all this previous stuff on, and it's going to be really bad. I hope it's not in the tournament. I'm almost calculating that they should just get this over with now. He's going to lose his mind next game and just get one more 2-game suspension or something, and then hopefully be clear going into the tournament. Because if this is looming over our heads in the tournament, I'd almost just rather get it over with now. So, do you want to just suspend him now? Then, is that enough? Because I don't think it matters at this point. He should have just been ejected from the games, which would have been the right thing to do. Like now that we're doing it after, it never works out the same way. Like even what was Izzo supposed to do? Bench him after in the mid game right there because he should have been tossed in the Minnesota game. Like that shouldn't have been. Why was he not tossed in that? Like I understand we have to police
I don't know.
him. We have to police him now, but should we have a little bit of attention on the refs not policing themselves very well that night?
I watched the the incident in the Minnesota game, and if you I think like really biased Michigan State fan could be like, I think he lost his balance, but
no,
he just whacks him. He just whacks him so good. Yeah, I don't know why he wasn't kicked out for that. I mean that I agree with you. That's the easier move of hey, you can't do that. You're ejected, but it didn't happen, and now it seems like that's not the only incident. It's kind of like a mounting situation, and it just I don't know, just interesting. I haven't heard a lot of talk about it on on podcasts.
I think college sports is way harder of a suspension too because you suspend them for let's just say it's the next game, and it's like, well, what is the next game? Is it the big game or is it not so big of a game? Obviously, the NBA, I think it's a little bit more balanced of what sort of talent you're going to be facing against. Like this could be a huge suspension, or it could be nothing if we're playing a nobody. It's like, so what difference did it really make then? It has to happen in the moment. He should have been tossed in the game. I hate looking back at it, and you're gonna get your wish soon. All right, it's coming. There's no way it's
Friday.
Not. I don't think it's Friday. I think it's gonna come against a team like Minnesota again, where it's like we should be winning. I can't believe we're losing to these guys, and they're gonna get under his skin. I think if it's a good team, it's almost like he's prepared for it a little bit more. But I don't know. I just
it is going to happen. It is going to happen this Friday at Wisconsin. Again, Big Ten putting some big games on Friday night. This is going to be the game of the night. Everybody's going to be watching. He's gonna pull out his amateur karate. It's going to be on the road. It's not going to go well.
Honestly, amateur karate is being nice about it. It's not even like sophisticated karate. It's like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to clearly hurt somebody. Like it's like I don't even want to compare it to anything. It's fine. I have an ACC future bet here, seeing how we don't have any football bets to hand out, and it's really hard to do nightly bets when we do the podcast at 6, and I can only do bets for the games that start in an hour. And by the time you listen to it, it's really not that helpful of a conversation here. So I said, let's do some college basketball futures, and mine revolves around the ACC. What'd you go with? You got someone too?
I went SEC.
All right, you're not going to like this, and it's really not related to the last loss. All right, it's not related to Duke just losing. It's purely based on the schedule, and that the Virginia Cavaliers are plus 800 to win the ACC. They're 20th in offensive rating on KenPom. They're 22nd in defensive rating in KenPom. If you look at the teams that are around in that, I think you'll recognize a few. It's way more easier schedule. Duke's got to face Michigan and Virginia and UNC.
Whoa, hold on. We do have to play Michigan, but that will not impact the ACC standings.
I still think, though, you still think that doesn't, like, you're not going to take some punches from all of that? Like, that's not going to strain on your team a little bit more than...
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure, like,
No, I didn't
Like,
mark them as
obviously, you know,
losses.
Michigan's not in the ACC, but like at this point in the year, like sometimes you're just looking at the schedule and you're just like, oh man, they got like this is like you're kind of pointing to like wins and losses, and you're thinking, ooh, okay, that's gonna be a loss for them. So just all right,
No, no, no.
reset.
I just it's going to be a matchup. All right, Michigan State's still recovering from facing Michigan. All right, you just watch out for that. Is all I'm saying. Clemson, another team that they're in the mix right now. They're going to face Louisville, UNC, and Duke. So like I'm just saying, Virginia's schedule is way easier because they don't face any of those ranked guys other than the Duke game. So like that's even if they lose the Duke game, they could still be in somewhat of control of here a little bit. So like I plus 800 Virginia to win the ACC.
It's 8-1. That's a lot.
It's anything can happen. They're still college kids. I'd rather bet on your college kids than the Virginia college kids, but based on the numbers on a little bit of scheduling here, I think that's a decent bet. There's no way you're going to admit it, but that's where I'm going to end mine, and you're going to tell me yours.
No, I see where you're coming from. This isn't a 50-50 bet. This is a long shot, and right now Virginia is just one game behind Duke and Clemson. Virginia's got to come to Cameron, but there's still enough time. There's still a lot of things can happen. Even I think last year Duke was really good, but the ACC was also not good at the same time. So I think it may have kind of blurred some things where there have been other good to great Duke teams. The 2015 team comes to mind that like lost 2 ACC games, just like I think it was like mid to like late January, just kind of like out of nowhere. Like these are college kids. You have no idea like what's going on, and then all of a sudden you get distracted. Like the ACC is better this year. It's not just every game Duke's favored by 25. So as a 8-1 long shot, put a couple pennies on it.
I still expect Duke to win, but there's not an 8-1 payout for Duke to win. So, what do you got for us?
Okay, I will see your 8-1 payout, and I will raise you. I am gonna go with the SEC. I'm gonna go with Arkansas to win the SEC, and that is 16-1. I think Arkansas got tripped up by Kentucky. A lot of feelings, a lot of emotions, a lot of stuff going on there. A lot of coaches, back and forth. But I think that they've been pretty good this year. And if you look at the standings, they are one game behind Florida. Florida is the overwhelming favorite. They're minus 700. So I think there's still enough time. I think Arkansas and again, the likelihood of them winning not very good, but at 16-1, Florida has had their problems. I think that their backcourt is improving, but I still think that they can get themselves into some trouble. And so only one game behind, but with a shot at 16-1, I'm gonna have to take it.
I love it. I love it. I already crossed off Florida. I don't need to make an argument for why you can't trust Kentucky. And it's not that they can't win it either. It's just that I've seen that roller coaster go up and down, and the Arkansas roller coaster is also up and down. But I think I'd rather be at least along for that ride at this point right now. I'm waiting for Kentucky to put it together, and maybe they have, but that team just doesn't. Even when they're at their best, I think it's fine, but it might not be as good as when I've seen Arkansas at their best. So I like the bet for that because I already crossed off Florida, and that guard play. It's not
Kentucky's won 8 of their last 9. Got killed by Vanderbilt, so I think that kind of makes it stink more. But I think they're trending in the right direction. We're able to handle Tennessee for the second time this year. Both games very close, but being able to pull that out, and this week back in the top 25 for the first time in quite a while.
I hate to nitpick on Kentucky, but their wins, it feels like it's a lot more related to what the other team didn't do. It never feels like, oh, well, Kentucky's really good at this, and they just took over this part of the game. They're just hanging around in all these games, and sometimes they just have the better athletes, and sometimes they win. I don't think they have a very good flow on offense or defense. Like I don't think they got.
I think they have a very. I think we're a little better odds than Arkansas, but they got a tough schedule down the stretch. They got to play at Florida. They're at Auburn. They're at Vanderbilt. They're at Texas A&M, and then they're home to Vanderbilt, but then they're at Texas A&M, and then home again to Florida. So, that's a tough stretch right there.
All right. Anything else for college basketball?
Yes, this week, Tuesday, Purdue at Nebraska and Vandy at Auburn. Wednesday, we have Florida at Georgia. Already mentioned the MSU at Wisconsin game on Friday. And then another late night on Saturday, Purdue at Iowa at 5 and Gonzaga at St. Clara at 10:30, if you can make it up.
Late game. All right, we might be a little late to all of this, but there was an NBA trade deadline. It came and it went, and it happened. Boy, was there a lot more activity than I expected. I know there might not have been these huge names. There was no Giannis move, but I was shocked to see we had as many names as we want. Is this one trade stand out as the most shocking to you?
It would be the Harden trade.
I think I am shocked because we didn't hear the rumblings of all that. But ultimately, if you were to look at Harden's history, it really shouldn't be that shocking, right? Like, doesn't this just add up, just like every other time?
It was more that, you know, the season started rough, but then it was headed in the right direction. It wasn't like Kawhi was hurt and Harden was going to have to, you know, carry the load. And then it just seemed like, it was just like a day or two before was, nope, I want out. It's like, oh, okay. And then I just didn't think that Cleveland would be the team to pull the trigger.
My most shocking trade is also my favorite trade. The Thunder getting Jared McCain, and then Daryl Morey coming after and doing a press conference talking about how he traded him at this peak value, as if he didn't just draft him the year before and that he wasn't in the running for rookie year the year before. I don't understand any of this. I thought the standing ovation that he got in OKC, just entering the game off the bench, it was an excellent counter to it all. And I'm still shocked that OKC got this guy. No one else got this guy. And that Philly, who's clearly in a rebuild right now and can move on and is going to move on from Embiid and Paul George at some point, doesn't want to build around McCain, Maxey, and Edgecombe. What am I missing in all of this? Because this is the most shocking deal to me.
I was definitely surprised by this. I agree with the timeline questions. You know, the Philly got 2026 first round pick. So that's this year. This year is 2026. So you're going to get a 30. I mean, this is basically a second and 3 future second round picks where it's like, all right, cool. Like, you can kind of use those things to, you know, add to a deal and kind of massage around the edges. But you mentioned it. McCain just got drafted like not that long ago. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, remember, he was the front runner for rookie of the year. But it's like, that was a pretty weak draft, and that was early in the year. And I'm a McCain fan, but I think to put it that way is a little bit much. But I think it's good for OKC. You have all these picks, like this is the time to use them. You're going to need younger talent to replace some of this. I call it older talent, but really just talent that is going to have to get paid. So if you're able to push in this direction, and you weren't going to get someone as good as Jared McCain with a 30th pick in this year's draft.
That's why I wouldn't do it. Like, let's not even remove Jared McCain from it. What was he drafted last year? Was it a 5th, 4th pick? What was it? I don't know what he was. Just say that pick blank. Let's say it was the 5th pick. Would you trade last year's 5th pick for this year's 30th? Like, why?
He was 16th.
16th. Would you trade the 16th pick for this year's 30th pick? Like, who would do that? What's the deal? Who would be in the draft being like, I don't want to be at 16. I'd rather be at 30.
I don't know. And it seems so weird too for Morey to come out as like a victory lap and say, I sold him at his peak. It's like, well, he was a rookie. He got hurt, and like this is his, like he's barely into his career. So I don't think you really know if you sold him at the peak or not.
Why are they so confident that they're going to be able to replace a Jared McCain-like talent with a 30th overall pick and some second-round picks? Like to me, that's what's shocking, is that I've already seen enough of McCain to think that he's already better than that. And maybe he's not worth paying a hell of a lot more than that, but I would want to see more than that. I don't know why Philly feels like they're in a position to be like, nah, we don't need this sort of asset. Like this
guy on a rookie deal. Like, that's like the cheapest way you can go.
So to me, that was the most shocking one. I'm with you on the Harden Garland just being like, whoa, the wow factor of it was, I didn't think that was a possibility. It was not on my radar, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. But hasn't every single Harden trade essentially come out of nowhere? This was just more no?
Not really.
I think the rumblings come, though.
I feel like in the past, it's been much more blatant. I mean, you remember Chubby Harden. I feel like there's been more blatant, I want out of here immediately situations.
Well, the Celtics also made a move. I think we have to talk about that one because we wanted to keep Simons. We talked about it last podcast, and we finally pulled the trigger in getting Nikola Vucevic. I like Vuk. I think there's room for him on this team. I think we have a. I think Simons has a higher ceiling, but Vucevic brings this team to a higher ceiling. It just is so much more of a need, and then the numbers just worked. And we're gonna need an entire other hour to talk about what the Bulls did this entire podcast. But for the Celtics, I'm all right with this. It hasn't looked great, and that might be just so we're looking at forward at this All-Star break and just really excited for it. But I like the move ultimately for us going forward this year. What do you think of it?
Would you like some very small Celtics breaking news?
Sure.
This just came out like an hour ago. The Celtics announced Jason Tatum being assigned to the main Red Claws, or not the Red Claws, main Celtics for the day to participate in portions of their practice. So it's small, but that's pretty official. He's starting practice with the G League team. Doesn't mean he's coming back tomorrow, but I think that right there is part of why I'm fine with moving on from Simons. Simons and Vooch both expirings. So this is for right now, just the end of the year. I think we needed size. We've been saying that since the beginning of the year, and knowing, or it sure seems like Tatum's coming back, so Tatum can fill in for what Simons is doing. We didn't really have something for what Vooch is doing, as well as Vooch is older, but again, this is half a year deal, and then we can sign him later on. But I'm thinking of it as he's a younger Al Horford type. He's a big, which we need a big, but also he can shoot. Not much of a defender. That's okay. We got other defenders on the team. We got other guys that can, pull up that role, as well as I think when you are just a big and just assumed you're a rim protector, but if you are around a defensive scheme that is going to have other guys that play defense, I think that he'll be able to step up and have just more than he's done in the past from a defensive standpoint. And I think it was the move we had to make. I wasn't married to Simons, and I liked having him on the team. I think we talked last time saying it was cool having an instant offense kind of guy, but I think for this team, we can replace that. And even if it's just kind of hodgepodge together, in the meantime, with no Tatum, with Hugo and Walsh, and it's not the best, but we had to get some depth. We could not just have Garza in the playoffs playing major minutes.
No, and Vucevic can shoot the three, which is another factor of you mentioned of replicating a Al Horford style. We haven't replaced that. I'm not embarrassed when Garza shoots a three, but I don't feel the same way as when Vucevic is going to shoot it. I think it's actually going to be good play. I think the pick and roll with Vucevic is going to be another thing that Kata just doesn't offer the same finishing skills around the rim. And as well as we're still going to need Kata. He really played terrible ever since this trade has happened, and I hope he understands that he's not losing all of his minutes. And if anything, I still think there's going to be games in most lineups where he might be playing with Vucevic more often than not. I I don't know. I don't think Kata's looked very good. He looked really bad the other day, and I'm all right with all of this. The Tatum news is very exciting. I imagine the trade has to be somewhat related to all of that, because I don't think you go for a win now move with an older guy if Tatum's not coming back. I think if Tatum doesn't come back, it's like, well, let's see how this young core is. Maybe we got to re-sign that for next year. But if he's coming back and we're in the mix of things here, the Vucevic fills a hole that we're going to need going into these playoffs if we're really going for it. So very, very exciting there. We have a couple other teams that made some really, really big moves here. None of them are going to make the playoffs. I'll ask you, which one of these teams is so much better off next year out of the Wizards that traded for ultimately Trae Young and Anthony Davis, the Jazz that traded for Jaren Jackson Jr., or the Pacers that traded for Zubac? All three of those teams, more likely than not, definitely missing the playoffs this year. Which one of them is better off next year?
I'm going to go with the Pacers, and that has much more to do with Halliburton coming back, and maybe I'm expecting him to fill right back into what he did before, but they have most of the guys that they had, and I think Zubac fills in for what Miles Turner was doing, and that was a finals team. So that's where I like that move. that Anthony Davis and Trae Young on the Wizards, I think it's good for the Wizards because now his fan base just has something to be excited about in the offseason. But look at these guys right now. They're both hurt, not playing. Now, Trae Young, maybe not so much known for the injury. Anthony Davis for sure. But I could see there's all this excitement, and then Halloween rolls around, and Anthony Davis has tweaked a knee, and now he's out for 2 weeks, and now it's Trae Young running the show and hoping for the best. But I think it's fun for the Wizards. It's not a legitimate going to be a successcul team.
It didn't hurt them though. I don't think they're hurt by this at all. I don't think they're in a worse position.
And for the price, for the price that they got it for, the headline it's 2 firsts, but then you look at it, it's like, oh, okay, these are kind of like 2 seconds. Like for Anthony Davis, like okay, and I think it's just Dallas had to move on, so they were able to take advantage there, and that's where this is good for the Wizards. It's if another team had done this, I probably would like it less, but for these guys, like cool, have some hope.
I'd rather have what the Wizards have than what Sacramento has, and maybe what the Bulls have. I haven't really.
What about the Jazz? That was the question you gave me.
I like what the Jazz have. I like the Triple J thing. I think it was the right time to pull the trigger. I think there's actually a coachable Will Hardy roster here. The problem is they're just not going to let us see it till next year, and I don't like that. And I'd almost wish that they would just start turning it on right now. Like just say culture has switched. We're no longer tanking, and if we could be a 10 seed, we'll take it. But they're not going to do that. They're going to try to add one more, which I understand doing. But if you're going to treat next year real, like just start it now. Don't set this losing culture for the rest of the year. Throw in one more rookie into all this and think that that's just going to build winning right off the bat here. I would go for it right now. And they have to go for it eventually. Like, at what point are these teams not, or are they done building? Like, what is Danny doing over there? Danny left the Celtics so long ago and has been in Utah. The Celtics would have almost won 2 championships. What has Danny done?
Has any team tanked and actually worked?
OKC?
Because I don't. And that's where I guess you kind of get into a little bit of like, what do you consider tanking, and is it like the all-out tank? But I feel like some of these teams, I'm thinking more just like the Wizards, the Charlottes, where it's like, all right, we're just going to be bad, and then we'll be good. We'll get 1 draft pick, and we'll turn this whole thing around. But really, it's more of these other teams, and OKC was able to trade their guys. Some of these other teams, it's just like big trade hauls that then they're able to build and turn into something. But I'm not sure if this just tank move is really that successful.
Well, you know what the problem is? It doesn't matter how good you are at tanking if you're really bad at drafting.
True. Yeah. So, or you just get unlucky as well. And what drafts you get, the picks.
I mean, look, we could pick I don't want to pick on Philly anymore of all this, but they had a bunch of number 1 picks that they butchered every single one of them. They do the trade for Tatum that they could have done. Lonzo and the Lakers completely married themselves at number 2. Like there's just stupid moves happening by teams that it didn't even cost them entirely. They recovered from it, but other teams, the Wizards, they don't recover from it. They make these sort of mistakes. That's it. They're not getting another one. So to miss on these time after time after time, it's like, well, you can tank as many times as you want, man. If you don't draft the right guy, it doesn't make a difference.
All right, to pivot, I got something I need to kind of talk through with you on. It's kind of a higher level sort of thing going on with the NBA right now that ties to the trade deadline. So we trade Simons for Vooch. Seems like it's a win now move, kind of around like the roster structure. It's like, okay, cool. But also part of this was Vooch gets paid less. So we were able to go from the start, or I guess like the start of the off season, we were above the second apron, huge luxury tax. And now with this last trade, all the way down to underneath the even the luxury tax. Like we have a lot more flexibility, and I think this is great for Brad Stevens has been able to do this, as well as we're still a top 3 team in the East. Should this is not for Brad Stevens, but should I be happy about this? Should I be happy that this is what Brad Stevens has to do to make these little moves around the margins, rather than making like a swing for the fences. We're like going to try to make a playoff push here.
We're able to be a hell of a lot more flexible under the cap. So while I'm with you, it'd be nice to spend some money and go for it. We got Tatum coming back, and we certainly have the space for it. We clearly proved we're capable of spending, and we could spend it on the right guys because we just did all that. And it won us a championship. What I'm excited for is that Brad Stevens is now under the cap, and he is no longer restricted by any sort of moves of being over the cap sort of things. All right, so the greatest GM in the NBA no longer has handcuffs anymore. So I would get excited for that. It's coming.
I guess it's maybe, I started this with the Celtics, but I guess I mean just at a larger level. Like I know we have a new owner, and we don't really know if he's going to have the appetite to spend like the last ownership. And obviously, these guys don't become billionaires by just spending frivolously. So like they want to make sure there's going to be a return for this. But it just they made these rules, and the rules are working correctly, and so like where guys are going to, it's done in a certain way, and it just feels like it's a little bit different. Like who made the big acquisitions? It's the teams at the bottom. The Jazz were the buyers. The Wizards were the buyers. Were some of these better teams? I mean, OKC gets McCain, but it's like that's like the big addition. I just feel like it wouldn't have been that long ago that at this point, at the trade deadline is when a Pistons go out and make like a move, splash, give up a first round pick to try to get a guy that you're not really sure he's gonna be good long term, but like for this year, like some more of these all in moves.
I recognize the pattern you're talking about. The problem is that this collective bargaining agreement that they agreed to right now was really trying to counter player movement. We were having too many guys demanding trades and teams just finding ways to trade them. With these sort of rules, it's kind of like, dude, we couldn't even if we wanted to. I mean, we bought out Damian Lillard in Milwaukee so that they could have some flexibility. Like that was the next solution to all of this. So like I'm not sure if it's working, but there was a point of emphasis on trying to stop player movement. And what this does is it really limits where they can go. They can only go to these bad teams. So more often than not, they're going to be stuck there. The point of the rule, though, was to keep unhappy players. What the problem is that the teams want to get rid of these players, and they can't do that anymore. They're stuck to there.
You say that, but I don't think that's true. I think that's what we thought coming into this. It's hard to compare deadlines to deadlines, but this was not a quiet deadline. All the teams are in the second apron. This is going to kill the deadlines. I mean, there were a lot of guys and stars getting moved. This was not quiet. This was not boring at the deadline.
All right, let's talk about some of the guys that weren't moved. Then, is there a guy that stands out of like I can't believe he didn't move?
It's Giannis and Ja.
Is it a little weird that the Pelicans didn't do anything other than lose Jose Alvarado for nothing?
I think that the Pelicans organization doesn't know what they're doing. They don't know what team they have, so they don't know what they're supposed to do.
I will give them credit for almost not knowing what to do and just doing nothing versus Chicago felt like they just wanted to be in the mix. Like they were just excited to be at the
How many
poker
guards
table.
can we get on one team? Yeah, I agree with that. Of like, hey, there's action. I'd love to get in on some action.
They heard about some underground poker table that they could sit at. They tagged along with a buddy. They have no idea what they're doing, but they're at the table, man.
It's fun.
I'm so happy to be here. It's such a fun environment. It's costing
people
us,
are calling.
Yeah,
asking questions.
Yeah, this is I could just see them. They're doing like the Moneyball montage. He's probably eating chips on the phone. Like they were so active, and then ultimately at the end of the day, it was like, wow, look at us go. Where are we now? And I have no idea. There's certainly some assets on there, and they're much better than what Sacramento is. It's just I don't understand where. Like, all right, so we don't want to resign to these guys, but we'd rather try these guys for 4 months or whatever, a couple months here at the end of the season, and decide if we want to resign them. We've already had the other guys for years, and we know what they are, but we don't want to resign them, so let's trade it for something else, and we'll try it out for a couple months of a season of which we're not very good, and then we'll decide if we want to sign them or not, and if those guys don't want to stay, we'll just lose them. And don't worry, because we have enough second-round picks to do I don't know what with Zach. They could build a house of cards with these second-round picks because that's all it's worth it.
So coming out of this, the Bulls now have 14 second-round picks, and my favorite is Big Cat from Barstool saying, "Well, what if those all turn into jokers? What happens then? 14 jokers. It's like, well, technically you're not wrong, but it's like, yeah, I have no idea. They're just outside of the play-in game, and I really don't know if these moves are going to put them just into the play-in or just below the play-in, and does it matter? I don't think so. It's so weird. At least at one point, they didn't have a guy over 6'7". As the Celtics, as a smaller team, that seems like a problem, but I don't know. That's a really good way of putting it, though, is that they're just the guy at the table doesn't know what they're doing, but they're in the mix. They're in action. Things are happening.
Things are happening. Any other NBA things stand out? There's so much that happened in a lot of storylines to get into, but I think those are what I definitely wanted to cover today. Anything we didn't cover?
I think that's a good wrap around of the NBA, and it'll definitely be interesting to see how things kind of settle out.
The buyout market hasn't been nearly as exciting in the past years, as well as I think you even say it every year. How much of a difference is it actually making? It's more of like, we can't make any more moves. These are the only moves we can do. It's the next thing we can talk about. Like, 'cause there's no other move coming after all that.
Yeah, yeah.
Potential buyouts that I know are coming. It looks like Lonzo Ball is going to be bought out. It looks like Chris Paul is going to be bought out. The Nets cut Cam Thomas, who just signed with Milwaukee, so he's no longer available for buyout. The Javon Carter Conley will be available as a buyout option. Javon Carter signed with Orlando. That's the one I would have wanted to sign, and he's gone. So shout out to Orlando for being smart and grabbing him. Is anyone going to take all these guys? Because if you ask me, there's too many aging guards that are about to be waived, and normally there's just one of them. And I don't know. It sounds like Conley's going to go back to where he was, and that kind of makes sense. But where's Chris Paul going to go?
And the only thing that I could think of is if there was like some sort of connection to a coach where they felt comfortable, and it's hard to tell. Is Chris Paul a winner or is he a jerk? Or is it kind of both, and it has to be in the right situation where like you don't even bring him in with maybe the expectation he's going to play a whole bunch, almost like a Sam Cassell to the Celtics in '08 of, hey, we just need like a, a younger kind of coach that is just going to help out, and maybe that's the case. But it sure seems like he's done. I mean, I think if anybody was interested, the Clippers would have waived him earlier or traded him earlier so he could have gone somewhere. But I don't think anybody was really asking about him.
I think they held off not waiving him or doing anything earlier so that he could have more options of teams that might want to trade for him. If they just waive him and a team can't trade or sign him, they have to trade for him. He has to be on a team then. So it's almost like a sign and trade sort of situation. But I just don't know what home makes sense for him anyways, is the really hard thing. But he should be happy that he's not in the Clippers anymore, because look at the moves they made. This is supposed to be some retirement tour. They packing it up. I know Kawhi's on fire right now, but do you think he would have rather been in the Clippers or being able to play the field a little bit right now?
Well, the Clippers didn't want him, so he didn't really have an option there. It is interesting that Harden got moved, Zubac got moved, and then Kawhi's still there, because no one wants you to remember this. The NBA doesn't want you to talk about this, but there's still an active investigation going on into Kawhi, and I'm wondering if that's maybe why he is still on the Clippers and didn't get traded, because all these other teams are going, yeah, when he gets in trouble, we don't want him on our team.
He's never going to get in trouble, Zach. I told you it was going to be till the All-Star break. You'll get one question answered by Silver over the All-Star break. One question. He'll answer it one time this whole All-Star break, and he'll never talk about it again.
When will it be done? When is the investigation going to be over?
It's already over. You act like it's over. They just want you to forget about it. Nobody's looking at anything.
It's still active. It's still open. And the All-Star game is this weekend.
That's what I'm saying. You're about to get your only and last update on this thing. It's coming this weekend. He's going to say some nonsense lawyer
You think they're
thing.
just going to bury this? You think Pablo is going to stand for this?
I think Pablo's done enough podcasts on it, and he can continue to do it because people are going to continue to listen, but it's never coming out. Nothing's ever going to happen. They have no idea how to punish this. It's such a weird thing to happen, and I agree that there should be punishment, but I don't know how they're going to announce it. I don't know how they're going to agree on it.
So why are other guys just going to do this? If there's no penalty, it's like, yeah, all right, let's circumnavigate the salary cap. There's all these harder restrictions. All right, cool. Yeah, what company in Minnesota is willing to, spend some money, some NIL type stuff? Like, yeah, we'd love to give $10 million to make sure that Ant sticks around.
I
Yeah, where
say
he needs to put it.
Go for it. Go ahead and try it. I'm telling you, Kawhi's pulling it off and doing it a lot better than anyone else would pull it off. All right, it takes a weird individual to do this, and I agree. There's some bad doing here.
What are you
right?
talking about? He's pulling it off. They got him. They got the payments.
He's still playing really good basketball right now. I think if this is another basketball player, they're a mess. Like they're not even worth playing at this point.
Why is he a mess? He's getting paid double. He's loving it.
I think
what's his concern? Checks keep coming in.
I'm telling he's a unique individual that this wouldn't be as easy to do for other people. The fact that he's still enjoying it and still having success out of all this is not how everyone else would handle getting caught. But nothing's going to come from it, so maybe he knows that. The Olympics are happening.
That'd be wild. It would be absolutely wild if nothing comes of this. But yes, this story broke a long time ago, and it has been very quiet. I will agree with that.
The Olympics are happening. I'm enjoying it. I like the curling. I saw some snowboarding that was really cool. Some slalom, a little back and forth. Love the gold zone. Unfortunately, the really only topic I got here, and I don't really have anything to report on, is just the Lindsey Vonn incident is such a bummer. I mean, already going in with the ACL and then powering through. We all know this is going to be it, and she worked so hard just to even get back into this. This isn't just like an awarded spot to her either. She had to qualify, and it's a whole thing. It really stinks, though. These Olympians are crazy people, and crazy things could happen sometimes. So it's just sad. Anything stand out for you for the Olympics here?
With it being ahead, I haven't been able to take advantage too much of the gold zone with the live stuff. Definitely next week with no Super Bowl and more time, kind of during the day. I might be able to check it out a little bit more, but I've still been checking it out even at nighttime with whatever reruns that they're doing, because it's not like anything's gonna get spoiled. I'm not anywhere near locked in on winter sports. We'll be interested more when the men's hockey happens. That always seems like it's a bunch of fun. Where don't really know too much about hockey, but like rooting for the U.S. team against the other countries, and we just had the big back and forth last year. But I did watch a couple of events for more than just a couple minutes. I watched the speed skating, followed up by it was the women's. I don't know if it was the slalom or the giant slalom, but one of the very fast skiing events. I'm watching the speed skating. They don't use their arms. They have their arms behind them. I have to imagine this is some sort of aerodynamic situation. I just can't imagine in a sport where you're moving your legs. I can't think of anywhere else where you don't pump your arms. Clearly, this is in the Olympics, so this has been all the way tested. You're not doing something. If you move your arms, that would be faster. Everybody would be doing that. So they figured it out. All right, cool, interesting. They do it. They're just gliding, and it is so smooth, and they're going around, and it's calm. It's like almost like you're looking at a lake. Juxtapose that with this downhill skiing, and now you and I, we are skiers, so you actually have some experience with this. All right. They are going down that hill so fast, and it doesn't look like they're in control. The skaters, they look like they're in control. When you're watching a basketball game, you're watching it and you just know. I would love to be able to do that, but like that guy's got the ball on the string, and he's just up in the air. He knows exactly what he's doing. These skiers, obviously they're going way faster than I go, but it looks like the way I feel when I'm going down of like, I'm going fast. I should probably slow down. I am on the very edge. If I slip a little bit, if I catch an edge, I am in trouble. And these guys are just 1,000 miles an hour, and watching it just made me nervous. And it was just wild to have two sports right next to each other, obviously different, but just the skaters, they're just on the absolute limit.
The Olympics. I already played the music.
I'm gonna keep watching.
We totally screwed all that up, but I'll remind everyone to subscribe. Love column A, love column B. You can follow Zach on his X account, which is
We Can See Man 24.
We'll be back next week. More college basketball, some NBA updates. Hopefully the Celtics get their stuff together. And the Pats will be back, man. It's not over. Rough one to end, though. But we'll be back.
Column A, little column B.